But when I got involved in '85, right, it had already been morphing. Yeah, been changing, right? Because, Hubbard died in 1986, and Miscavige had already, we know this now, Miscavige had already taken over and was really changing it to, what I would call its worst possible interpretation. But when you got in 1971, David Miscavige was, like 3 years old or something, or 11 years old or something. It was not anywhere on anybody's radar, right? So let's talk about what was Scientology like when you got in?
Fun.
And how? How was it fun? Like, what was...
It was new. Okay, the first thing that when I went to that original lecture, again, it was in the Mission Network, and it was Upstat. When Ron talked about Upstat, the Mission Network was Upstat.
Meaning it put on a good presentation, a good show.
People looked professional. They acted professional. They were polite. They had a building that was maintained. They had nice furniture. We had what we needed to, operate with. So it wasn't
There was toilet paper. That's always the fallback thing on orgs. They don't have any toilet paper.
If I had seen the LA org before I had seen the Pasadena Mission, I would never have even thought about doing anything there.
Back then, the LA...
Oh, and the people were really nice, but my gosh, it was just horrible.
Wow.
And so it was really hard for us in the Mission. It was hard for us to go to the org and go, oh yeah, you guys we're really gravitating toward you, because we knew we were doing it better than they were. We knew that we were.
Right.
We didn't know why. We didn't know any of the politics of it. But anyway, the first lecture that I went to, I had been raised Catholic. I had left the Catholic Church after I got married. And the guy in the lecture said, he got me. He just really put it out there and got me. He said, so if you were ever involved in any other religions, you might have been taught that you have a soul. He said, so when you die, your body gets buried, your soul goes to heaven. What happens to you? And it was like getting shot right between the eyes with something that I'd never, ever looked at before. And I had gone to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, and Catholic nursing school. So I'd had a lot of Catholicism thrown down my throat. But I never even thought of that question. And so then I went, whoa, what? And he said, well, that's what we're going to talk about in Scientology. We're going to talk about you. What about you as a spiritual being? And that just opened up a whole new window for me. So I was, and I wasn't looking at Scientology as a religion at that time at all. But that got me, that question got me thinking. So I thought, So I went on and did a personality test. And of course, because we were at that time having, problems in our relationship and our marriage, that was ruining my life. I mean, I knew that there was something there that I wasn't doing right and that Larry wasn't doing right. And so that got me. And so it was one step after another. And he was all gung-ho about the communications course anyway and said, you're going to love this and blah, blah, blah. And I did. I really liked it. So, and I liked the staff members, and I didn't find anything not to like for a long time. I liked the study tech. I was willing to continue on each one of those steps. I wasn't being harassed or harangued or...
So it wasn't like sitting you down and beating on you for every penny in your bank account and...
I think that there was some of that. Yeah. I remember not having a lot of extra money for a lot of extra stuff. But I will say this, because we were still doing our jobs, and Larry and I both just said, no, we're not quitting our jobs. I think there was a point where we were on, I think there might have been a point where we were on full-time staff, or maybe one of us was. I just don't remember all that much right now. But, we weren't giving up being able to take care of you or being able to, adopt another kid. Or we were living our lives. I mean, it wasn't like a big, it's not like we gave everything away. We were doing all right.
Right. And I guess as mission staff members, you weren't particularly being
No.
regged for things all the time.
Well,
You guys would be the ones doing
Barney had an idea that I didn't see practiced at the orgs at all, which was all of his staff members were going to be trained, if not audited. That we were all going to be actively working on getting our posts, getting trained for our posts and for ourselves personally. And he was big on that, and we went along with that. We could see the value of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that is unusual for, at least now, for the orgs, right?
I know.
That you came up in a situation where the person in charge insisted that you get Scientology.
Yeah, he did.
Right.
It's apparently, when your dad and I would watch you go through what you were going through in Santa Barbara, the hardest thing for us was, you were getting trained for your post, which we expected.
Mm-hmm.
But for your personal, trip up the bridge, it was very hard for us to watch that not happen for you.
Right.
You know?
It was a struggle.
Yeah.
And I eventually did get some auditing, but yeah, it was tough.
We thought it was terrible.
Yeah, well, because it was. But that's actually a good highlight.
I mean,
of differences.
It totally goes against the principle of, hey, I'm going to deliver Scientology to you, and I don't know much about it at all because I haven't had any auditing or training. What?
Right.
Come on, how does that work?
Exactly. So now you also mentioned that it was fun, and and we talked earlier when we discussed this about the sense of community and the how everybody was friends with everybody else, like socially outside of the church and whatnot too.
Our staff was, yeah, we did.
Like what was that like?
We did a lot of drinking back in those days. It was actually, it's very safe though, because most Scientologists didn't drink a lot, and they didn't. Nobody did drugs. Nobody that we knew ever did drugs. So our recreation was, having some beers and a barbecue and stuff like that. But we just enjoyed each other's company. We enjoyed talking about Scientology, even, about wondering what the upper levels were like, or I don't know. It wasn't all Scientology, because there were kids and birthday parties and stuff like that too. But it was a sense of purposefulness, I guess, and that gives you a good feeling, even if you don't always like what the other guy's doing, or even if you're getting hollered at by somebody. It was with an underlying understanding that we're trying to get somewhere. We're trying to make this mission successful. We're trying to make people understand Scientology, because there's something here that's very valuable. That was, the thought at the time. And it was shared. It wasn't pounded in anybody's head. It was just, I don't know, kind of that way.